Yo, what's up, everybody? What's good? What's good? This is your boy, LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston, host of the Sugar Ray Show, here with another incredible episode. I'm actually extremely excited, probably the most excited I've been so far. Not only do I get to talk to a dear loved one, a nephew of mine, man, but someone who is doing work to prepare all of us for the future. There's a lot of changes happening in the world, particularly around finances, economics, and as black people, as melanated people, for the most part, we've always been behind. But this brother, his network of people, man, they're keeping us up to date and they're doing as much as they can, man, to just get everybody educated, to move us forward. So we're going to talk today to my nephew, Link Green, aka the Krypto Khemist. All right. I'm going to read his bio, a little bit about who he is, why I'm interviewing him, and why you should pay attention to this interview. So, Link Green is a certified blockchain professional specializing in training on a corporate level in emerging technology business solutions and implementation. He specifically focuses his services on artificial intelligence, VR, AR, and machine learning business applications. He is a published author with almost a decade of experience in blockchain and emerging technology and has spent a great deal of his career teaching technology to underserved communities. Green has 3 master's degrees from St. Joseph's University in Brooklyn, New York, MBA in marketing, and MS in organizational management. Let's clap it up for the brother for that. And has been teaching professionally since 2014. Green has developed several blockchain curriculums for private organizations, has been featured on NASDAQ, Trade Talks, PBS, Shavers Chronicles, and most notably, ran operations for CoinDesk 22 Consensus Festival, heading the rollout of their social token, Desk. He has an innate ability to make the most seemingly complex topic relatable to all ages, backgrounds, and education levels, which makes him an extraordinary educator. Yo, incredible, man. I'm honored. How you doing today, brother? How you feeling?
Man, I'm great. I'm great as always, man. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Just excited to be here with you, man. Let's get right to it. So one of the things that I love about what you've done so far, all of the degrees obviously is all honorable, commendable. But as we know, there are a lot of people who acquire knowledge and they keep it to themselves, right? Or they share it on a personal one-on-one basis with, in the private sector and things like that, which is fine, to each their own. But what I love about what you did, you wrote a book, The Chemistry of Currency. Right? Breaking down what currency actually is, how it works, how humans could, manipulate it to their benefits in a way, right? So talk about that process, talk about the book, talk about the title, what made you, drop that book at that time, because that was just during the pandemic you dropped that book, right? So talk a little bit about that, please. So and then, even before you go into the deep book, when did you know you was a writer, even first?
Oh, I knew I was a writer in my single digits. I've always been a writer. I've written, lyrics, I rap. That's more private, something I do in my private life. But I've always been a writer. I've been a very strong writer from a young age. My mother really reinforced writing and, diction and, being as proper as possible, but while still being able to relate to my people, but also, having that knowledge base. So I've always been a writer. I can say that for sure.
Nice.
As far as what led me to write the book, I've been teaching, and I started teaching cryptocurrency to convicts. I got tired of coming home off of leave while I was in the Army, and my family members being locked up. My cousins and uncles and shit being locked up, to be honest. And so I basically was like, look, I'm gonna teach you guys something that I learned that can make you just as much, if not more money than being in the streets. And hopefully that'll keep you out of the streets. And so I realized very quickly that I had to break things down. Now, I was the youngest of all of my cousins. And my cousins were, like I said, in the streets. They made sure that the younger cousins stayed out of the streets. You know how y'all was, they used to chase us home, when we were out of school, all of that, right? And so one thing that they taught me was how to not make the mistakes that they made by teaching me from the mistakes that they made. So it was very easy for me to use the analogies of being in the streets to teach them about cryptocurrency. And once they got it, you realize that no matter what, if it's illegal or illegal what they're doing, they're running an enterprise. they're running a business. So if you put it to them in those terms, they're going to take that and run with it, and run with it they did, you know? And so from there, I started to actually recognize how many major terms or complex terms was in the financial world that was the only barrier to entry, really. And so I wrote the book because, you know, I wanted people to understand this stuff, because it was actually being created from the things that they did every day. You know, cryptocurrency is no different than, you know, when you go to the store, you buy a pair of sneakers and then you flip them and resell them somewhere, right? Same thing. It's the same thing. And so I had to teach them from that perspective, and from there it took off.
Nice, powerful. Talk about, you know, staying there with the book, with talking with your family, your cousins, uncles, things like that. What was one thing that I mean, I guess you might have mentioned it, but if you can go into that more, what excited you? Like, when did you know people were getting it? Like, what let you know? Like, what satisfied you? You're like, oh, okay, people got this, and so keep going.
That light bulb moment. So when Bitcoin first started, right? Well, excuse me, not when it first started. When I first started teaching about it, I should say. People didn't understand the concept of buying a piece of Bitcoin. Everybody thinks that, don't, you know, if they don't know, they think that you have to spend 20 something thousand dollars to get Bitcoin. You don't. You can buy a piece, right? So, you know, from the Northeast, so I will always use the slice of pie, or excuse me, the whole piece of pie and the slice of pie analogy, right? So if the whole pie is $30, you have to pay $30 for the whole pie. But if you want to buy a slice of the pie, you know what I mean? You can get the $2 slices. You can get, it depends on where you're going, but you get a slice of the pie for a cheaper amount. And if the overall amount of the pie goes up from $30 to $35, and that slice of pizza is going to be about $2.50 now, let's say.
More valuable.
More valuable, exactly. And that's what they would say. And so when I seen that all you got to do is break it down to something that we understand and overstand, whatever you want to use, right? And they will get it and grasp it and run with it. That's when I got excited, and they would bring others to me. You know, they would bring others to me who, like I said, growing up, you know, those were the rock stars. No disrespect to anybody, you know, who sees things differently, but growing up, the so-called dope boys were the rock stars. So when they would bring these guys to me who I thought was cool when I was, you know what I mean, 10 and 11 years old, trying to learn, honestly, that motivated me. I'm not even going to hold you. That was a big motivation.
Powerful. And I love how you put that, because two things that you mentioned there, that number one, you can learn from anybody.
Yes.
Right. And even a child can learn.
Yes.
Even a child learns and then can become the teacher.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So no, that's extremely powerful. So you mentioned something, you know, in your bio, because again, there's a lot happening right now. There's a lot that people are nervous about, right? When it comes to AI, when it comes to crypto. Talk about artificial intelligence, and what is the biggest barrier there for our people? Because as we know, it's been in movies, it's been, you know, it's been portrayed not so positively throughout the years to a lot of people. So can you talk a little bit about AI? What frightens people, and how can we truly use it to our benefit?
So the thing that is a bit contradictory about our people being afraid of AI is that they don't realize that they have given the AI all of the information that it needs. And what I mean is, all of these social media platforms got popular from us. If we didn't mess with IG, TikTok, Facebook, it would be nothing. And we know that. All of the trends that we started, Vine, you remember Vine, all of the trends that we started, right? That's what made these social media platforms popular. And that's what made these blogs popular. And so all of it was us getting on here like this, talking about what we knew, and the internet basically taking, if you know anything about data analytics and all of that, data mining, all of that, they would take all of that information and they would, transcribe it, right? They would transcribe the information and they would keep it in these huge servers. All of the information that you put on, when they say that the information never dies, you cannot delete what's on the internet, that's what they mean. And so they would put that information in these huge servers. And all AI is doing is parsing through, meaning searching through these huge servers and getting and pulling back all of the information, drawing from all of the information that we gave it, right? So to be afraid of something that came from you it's just contradictory. It came from you. And so what I always tell people is, if you're afraid of AI, you need to get the same thing you be doing, fasting, meditating. You need to get your consciousness above AI because it came from you anyway. This is something that we can use. And if you read ancient texts, if you read ancient stories, we always created something to work for us, to build things for us, right? From the pyramids all the way to, you know, Stonehenge, all of that. Something we use that came from our consciousness built it for us. And so to be afraid of AI is to be afraid of yourself, essentially.
No, that's powerful. That's powerful. And so what are some ways that you see that people are using it to their benefit, maybe that you're using it? And what are some ways that as a society we can use it to move us forward? Because one thing that I guess I really like about it, you know, and as again, it could be depending on who uses it and how you look at it, could be a little, you know, intimidating, is the fact that with artificial intelligence, with the 3D printing, with all of these things that's been developing, you know, mainstream the last few years, is people don't no longer have to wait for like organ transplants, right? People no longer have to wait for certain things that directly benefit their health. You know, so talk a little bit about that. What are some things that you're using that you're excited about, and all of that?
So I use CookUp.ai, and that is from a gentleman who actually built the AI off of the same type of technology that ChatGPT and all of that is a part of. Excuse me, that ChatGPT and them use. However, I don't want to, you know, I'm in this space, so it's not, you know, it's things that I can't say. But what I will say about ChatGPT is be very careful, because even though they say that you own the information on there, there's no way to really actually verify that. And they say a lot of things, right? They say that they won't break a lot of laws, and they do. They say that, you know what I'm saying? So I want everyone who does use that to know that at some point they may come back and say, hey, we own, if you're writing a book with this, if you're writing a script with this, if you anything like that, just know, right? However, you can use this AI, you know, getting that out of the way. You can use services like CookUp.ai that will allow you to write books, that will allow you to write scripts, that will allow you to, that will do contracts for you, write up contracts for you, that, you know, pretty much anything that you can hire somebody to do on paper, right, you can do with AI. And so that presents a great opportunity for people who would like to run these companies and don't have the expertise and don't have the time, and et cetera, et cetera. But you're still going to need experts to look over the things that you're doing, especially if you're using contracts and things like that. So don't think that you're just cutting out, you know what I mean, the middleman for this, and you're going straight to the distributor, right? You have to actually get this stuff validated. But you can definitely use it. I don't want to get too far into it, because I feel like AI is something that you should learn under the instruction of someone who actually understands AI. Because it's, you know, it's like a child, giving a child a knife in a lot of ways, you know. But you can do all kinds of stuff. You can get AI that will do videos for you. So you can get a digital person made, and the AI will, you know, read a script for you that you give it. You can make different pictures of yourself, different NFTs. You can, I mean, all kinds of stuff with AI. Definitely.
Oh, that's incredible. You know, two things you said just now that really it kind of made me chuckle, right? You said number one is like cutting out the middleman, and I think that is part of why a lot of people may be apprehensive, because if you're, you know, you have to be, and coupled with that, you mentioned like giving child the knife. There still has to be a chain. Just because you got the AI, as you mentioned, it doesn't mean that you fully understand it and then can move on your own. You still need an expert. You still need a real human to look at the things, especially like you mentioned, especially contracts. And I think with the analogy like giving a child a knife, I think that's what makes people most apprehensive, because, you know, when I'm thinking about the story of Frankenstein and just also reading ancient texts, is like there's some people in this world,
yes,
groups of people in this world who have built things that has absolutely destroyed.
Yes, nuclear weapons, all kinds.
Right, nuclear weapons. The story of Frankenstein, you know, most notably. Right, you build something and the monster becomes a monster and turns on you. And I think that happens only because there's a disconnection, which is why something you mentioned also makes extreme sense, is that you got to be connected and you got to have someone who fully understands it.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, let's move forward, man. Let's move forward to just all of the work that you're doing. I know that you are involved in developing, you know, a lot of curriculums, for schools, for institutions, for different groups of people. What has been the biggest challenge with getting your curriculum as it relates to Bitcoin, crypto, NFTs, and all of that stuff into a larger audience in our community?
Corporate conglomerates, to be honest, wanting to control the information and wanting to make sure that they give it to our people the way that they want it, and from a perspective or a vantage point that empowers them. If I'm going to be honest, it's no different than what you see with the Fed Now program, where they're trying to, they've spent the last 10 years shunning cryptocurrency and digital currency, but now they're releasing a digital currency that is going to track everything that you do. So that has been, that's been the biggest barrier. And, if you don't know about this, let me just put it out there that on July 1st, they're going to put out the Fed Now program, which is a digital currency program, that if you try to buy something online and they don't agree with it, they will they will deny your purchase, right? They will deny your purchase. And we've seen the attack on holistic healing and your CMOS and your Sorrel and all that, right? If you try and purchase that online and they don't want you to purchase it because they want you to use FDA approved products for your healing, FDA approved products for your healing, well, then that's going to be a problem for you, right? Give me 1 second here.
Yep, take your time.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, perfectly fine.
That's my little transmitter. All right, so that's going to be a problem for people. And that has been the biggest barrier because they want as many people. And when I say they, I mean these institutions that wield all this power to use their form of digital currency. So if I'm coming out and trying to teach people how to use a form of digital currency that empowers people privately, that's going to be a huge barrier to what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And with that, on the flip side, how have you found, or what have you done to find the sweet spots? Because it's obviously working. You're working with a group of people developing, some institutions yourself, mm-hmm. right? So how have you found the sweet spot, and how have you plugged in to that?
So we have established, or I've established, and with, like I said, my network, the Web Renaissance movement. And this
yes, sir.
The Web3 Renaissance. Thank you so much, man, for your support and helping us to get that into the community, especially, where we're from. But the Web Renaissance movement is basically a movement that is propelled by the Renaissance that is being created through Web3. And what Web3 is this new iteration of the web, where you have, VR, AR, TikTok. You have this new way of using the web that we didn't use before. So this is the third iteration of the web. The first iteration was Web 1.0, and you remember that, where you just had the static pages on the internet that you could just read information. Web 2.0 was the advent of like email and MySpace, where you could start putting content up onto the internet. But Web 3.0 is this huge change in this immersive type of reality that we're now experiencing with the web. And so what the Web Renaissance movement is basically saying, hey, we're going to leverage the Renaissance that is being created from these individuals who are creative individuals who are contributing to this new iteration of the web. And so similar to the Harlem Renaissance that we've seen, right, where there were all different types of races. However, melanated people were the main ones that were guiding this Renaissance, right? And it was new technology, it was new information, it was, everything was changing in that time too. That was a turning point in history as well. And so the Web Renaissance movement leverages this new turning point in history that's happening globally, because the Harlem Renaissance happened in Harlem in the Northeast and, Detroit, etc. But the Web Renaissance is happening worldwide and globally.
Absolutely.
That's how
Absolutely. And how powerful is that? I know a lot of times, a lot of movements are, and rightfully so, they're centered specifically around a group of people, right? Black people, melanated people, or specifically around, a certain age group. But how powerful is it when we talk about the Web Renaissance that is literally, as you mentioned, is global, it's worldwide, it encompasses all people at all different education levels, economic levels. How powerful is that? And how can we plug in more into each other in that way, in that space?
People are tired of oppression globally. Mm-hmm. People are tired of oppression globally. They're tired of being told things that doesn't make sense to them, and being forced to do things that they don't understand why they're being forced to do them, and the information behind it isn't adding up. And so people want a direct peer-to-peer relationship. They don't want these big organizations with people who they never met before telling them what to do, and speaking at press conferences saying things that don't make sense anymore. They want to speak directly to the person who they're buying it, like you, how specific you are about the things that you buy and who you buy from. I remember it was a company, we're not going to name the company, but you realize that the owners were presenting themselves to be melanated, and they actually ended up being Chinese. And I remember you saying, I don't care if you're Chinese, but don't make yourself seem like you're something that you're not. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Of course.
You're up in arms.
Of course.
We are tired as people globally of being lied to.
Yep.
And so this is how, this is what's propelling this movement. And putting things in a peer-to-peer aspect allows them to transform into something even bigger than a company who's worried about their bottom line could achieve. So that's been, a huge propellant for this movement, and why it's been catching on so much.
No, absolutely. And what I love when you mentioned the Web Renaissance, it clicked instantly for me, not only because the relation to, my knowledge of the Harlem Renaissance, but also because just knowing the time that we're in, the 20s, right? 2020s, 1920 was the roaring 20s, knowing that there has to be a renaissance in some capacity to move not just a decade forward, but the century forward.
Oh, man. I never thought of that. Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And so for me, it's just my brain is wired in such a way when I hear certain terms, it automatically connects to something else. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, we're in the roaring 20s again, baby. Let's go. We setting a precedent now for the next 1,000 years, really, not even the next 100, but the next 1,000, because Web3 is going to transform everything.
That's right.
Right. So talk a little bit about, the future. As you mentioned, we got the metaverse, we got the AR, we got the VR stuff, and the future verse, talk a little bit about that and what you're excited about, what you're, maybe apprehensive about, if at all. Just give a little talk on all of that stuff.
Well, when we talk about those major companies again, you have to realize that with this movement, and another reason why people need guidance in this is because there are major companies that are coming into this movement and claiming that they are going to solve all the solutions, all the problems, provide all the solutions for the problems that regular people have, right? And these people who they're solving problems for don't have necessarily, they do have power, but they don't know the power that they have, right? So they're willing to accept resources from individuals who they don't really know their intentions. And so you have, and this is not to say that these projects are malevolent in any way, but it is to say that if you come into a situation without power, right, you're at the mercy of whoever does have the power. You want to sit at the table with power, right? And so you have projects like Futureverse, and Futureverse basically is poising itself to immerse you into the metaverse in everything that you do. Think Ready Player One, where if they died in that game, they could lose all their money, their real money, actual money that they could use in their real economy, where they had an identity there, and that identity was whatever they wanted to be in that metaverse. And, that's how they got their popularity. That's how they got their clout, essentially. So this is being built with projects like Futureverse. And so because we're going to rush to these projects, just like we rush to social media, right? We're going to rush to these projects, and I want to guide people like, all right, hold on. I see that you're going to rush to this project, and that's fine. That's your choice. But I want you to weigh, all of the options that you have. And I want you to weigh the consequences of what you're doing. And I want you to know what you contribute to this new Futureverse type of dynamic, because if you don't think that you actually contribute anything, you're just going to give it away for free, which is what we did with social media, right? We gave it away for free. And in these constructs, you can own everything that you put on into this, into this Futureverse, into this metaverse. You can own it. But if you don't know how, they're not going to teach you. And so that's where I come in at. Let me teach you how to be an owner. Let me make you an owner.
That's our slogan. Let's make you an owner.
Let me make you an owner. So that the next time that you walk into something and you're talking about, your knowledge base, you're talking about basketball, you're talking about, You're talking about historical movements. You're talking about revolution. I want you to own that. Can you imagine if Che Guevara owned everything that he did? Can you imagine if Marcus Garvey owned everything that he did? Like actually owned anytime they put content out about him, all of that, he owned it. They had to pay him anytime that they shared it. Well, his family's family, you know, his grandchildren's grandchildren will still be getting paid. And so that's what I'm striving to do for people.
Absolutely. Yo, that's incredible, brother. That's incredible, man. With that, what has been or what do you see to be, again, one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest barriers?
Yes.
Is it still the institutions, or is it now at that point more that people's ignorance and people's lack of being open-minded? What is it with that specifically?
So I just want to say, you know, in all of our neighborhoods, right? I've been in the military. I've met, you know, people from around the world. But one thing that I can say after traveling is some of the most brilliant minds that I've ever met, and this is no slight to anywhere else, some of the most brilliant minds that I've ever met came out of in the impoverished areas of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, the tri-state area. I'm just going to keep it a bean, and that's not because I'm biased, right? From that area. It's because no matter where I go, it's always a person from New York or New Jersey that's running things somewhere. No matter where I go, man, it's always a person from New York, New Jersey primarily that's running things. But what I can say is this, right? Let me give you a brief story, right? If you would have bought $100 worth of Bitcoin in 2010, you'd have $75 million, somewhere around $75 million, right? By now. In 2010, at the same time, it was the 25th anniversary of Jordan, of Air Jordans, right? And so these designers, I think I got it written down, Tinker Hatfield and Mark Smith came out with the 25th anniversary Jordans, and they were $170. And our people stood in line for those Jordans.
Wow.
Now, $170, right? Based on $100 being worth $75 million right now, $170 would have been worth, I got that written down, $127,500,000. You know how much those same Jordans are selling for on StockX right now?
$1,000?
Lower.
Oh, I don't know. Tell me.
$240.
Crazy.
So we stood in line, and we know we got family members who will stand in line for, excuse me, who will stand in line for some sneakers.
Of course.
You made, what is that, $70? You made $70 off of these sneakers. And you could have been a multi-millionaire. So the barrier is we are so quick to call ourselves oppressed, and we have been historically, but with the advent of Web3, with the advent of digital, you know, these advances in digital technology, I should say, and digital currency, etc. Any type of, I'm not going to say any type, but a lot of the oppression that we experience is a choice. And that hurts, right? That's upsetting to people. And it's like, what do you mean? What about all these things that happen? But you chose to go and buy a pair of sneakers that you probably don't even wear anymore. And if you do have them still and you can resell them, you're going to get $70 over what you paid after 13 years. 13 years. Where you could have been a multi-millionaire. So let me ask you this, and this is what I tell a lot of the young brothers who I mentor. Do you think that same situation that you're dealing with in the street, whether it's a cop or whatever, it's another brother who has a problem with you, do you think you still have that problem with $75 million?
Not at all.
Do you understand? And so it's hard this is why I come so hard at my people, because you are the IP. You're the intellectual property. You create you remember the ball, you got them on your wrist. You remember we used to take basketball rubber bands, and when we play basketball, put them around our wrists and ball. And then you seen the strong bands, and we were like, hold up, we've been doing that for years. And then they even made them yellow, similar to the tan color of the of the rubber bands, right? So they do that all the time, and they make millions, if not billions, off of our culture. There is no reason why we shouldn't own everything that we do, and there's no reason why we shouldn't take a few $100s and put it into something that could expand exponentially. And so that's been the biggest barrier to entry, or the biggest barrier that I've faced in our people, is that not just the ignorance, it's the, well, crypto is a Ponzi scheme, or crypto is a scam. But you got money on Cash App, and they can rent that money out at any time. You understand what I'm saying? At least with blockchain, we can see who has it, where it's at, who's holding it, what they doing with it. You can't do that on Cash App. You don't control their servers. Right, so that's been the biggest thing is our people just arguing with me about whether or not this stuff is legitimate. But you've been using illegitimate forms of finance for the last 100 years.
No, absolutely. No, that's incredible, powerful. So on air now, I'm gonna challenge you to challenge me more, get more on me, right? Because also, I get it, and I've never said nothing. Like none of it is a scam. It's just my brain is still wired the old way, right? Where I'm still thinking, and I'm expanding, but I still think, work for money, right? Like, all right, I got to do this thing to get money, as opposed to putting it over here and just being strategic about the growth of it. With that, also, one thing I would say, in 2004, I went to prison in 2004, right, for a shooting. In 2004, I was gambling, playing CeeLo, playing dice in the hood, and I would lose 8,000, 10,000. I would win a lot also, but I lost big numbers of money. I learned in prison in 2004, Google went public, and it was at $84 a share, and then it actually dropped to like $47 a share. If I would have had the education, I would have, without even knowing what Google was, just because I was a gambler, I absolutely would have poured $5,000-$10,000 into Google, but I didn't have the education.
That's a great.
So that's one thing that I just like to always be compassionate with our people in that way. Is like, without the education, is like, and without someone who you trust and know who's doing it, who has a proof. But even sometimes, just the idea, if somebody was like, "Yo," because I knew what Google was, right? It came out, I was using it, right? But I didn't fully understand it. I didn't research it. I was a street kid at the time. I was 19, 20 years old, knee deep in the streets. I was using Excel. I was searching online for certain things. But in prison, I learned that it launched at $84 a share. I was like, "Yo, I would have absolutely poured 10,000 into Google and been filthy rich right now."
And that's the reason why I make sure that I'm in the neighborhoods that I want to change. I make sure that I'm with the people who I want. I don't go straight to them talking about crypto. I go straight to them talking about what it is that they're interested in, and I take that and apply it to how they can make money or do whatever they need to do in not even crypto, in blockchain. Let's get two things. Let's get one straight.
Talk about it.
Cryptocurrency and blockchain are two different things, right? Yes. Cryptocurrency operates on top of a blockchain, but it's just a currency, right? It's a money. It's a form of digital money. The blockchain is a technology that, it's a ledger. It's a digital ledger that basically records everything that you do on top of it. So if you are dealing with a website that is connected to the blockchain, everything that you do is recorded on there. And so people hear that and they're like, "I don't want what I'm doing to be recorded." Well, what you're doing is being recorded anyway on you know what I mean? If you have an Apple account, if you have a Google account, etc. But those people control that information. Whereas with the blockchain, the people can see all of the information and they can agree. It's called consensus, right? They can agree as to whether or not those transactions actually happen. That actually empowers you if you really understand it. You know what I mean? And your name, your information, your social security number, all that stuff is private. They don't know that it's actually you, right? Unless you announce yourself and say, "Hey, I sent this money to this individual and this is my wallet address," right? But other than that, you're private. So that's a huge thing that, we need to pay attention to, because that empowers us a great deal. You can get loans right now with no social security. You don't even got to give your social security number, right? You can have a horrible credit score, and you can get loans right now through blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, etc., that can be used as real money just by understanding this technology. And I'm talking about loans to purchase homes, cars, etc. Not just little small, loans. Huge loans, you can get those by understanding this technology. You understand? It's a lot. It's a lot that goes into this.
Absolutely. So I want to go back real quick. I want to give you some praise. I want to talk about you on many accomplishments. One of the things that I know you were really excited. There's been a lot you've been excited about. But one thing recently was the CoinDesk thing in last year, CoinDesk. How was that? Was that a moment of like, because obviously you've had the knowledge prior, you've been doing the work prior, which is what led you there. But how was that moment for you? And was it like, okay, I'm finally here? Because that was a big stage, right? Your face was on the thing, right? That was massive.
Yeah.
How was that for you internally, feeling as a man who's been on this journey for a while?
It was great. Big shout out to Markeisha Olison at CoinDesk, because she's the one who gave me the opportunity. So I actually wanted to volunteer just to help at Consensus, and I put together this pitch deck, and I dressed up and I recorded myself going over my pitch deck of all of my credentials and the work that I had done. And so they called me and was like, talking to me and whatever. And they're like, okay, did you get the job description? And I'm like, I'm thinking that I'm going to volunteer. And I'm like, what job description? What are you talking about? And they're like, Link, we're offering you a job. Everything that you've done, we need that. We're offering you a job as operations manager for Consensus for the rollout of their desk token. And so, yeah, man, it was huge. And, I'm a social token expert, so it was great. They were rolling out a social token. And so I got there and I was just working. I was happy. I was excited. It was Consensus. It is the blockchain and tech event of all time, as far as I'm concerned, right? And so it's a huge big tent event. So I was excited. And they wanted to roll out the token, and they wanted to explain it to people, and they seen that I was very eloquent at explaining things to people. So I actually wrote the script. I don't tell people this, but I wrote the script for those 2 videos that you've seen of me with CoinDesk. Yeah. I wrote the script. They went over the script. They edited it, yada yada. They flew me back home, right, to New York. So it was great because I was living in Atlanta at the time. So they flew me to New York. And we went to the studio, went to CoinDesk Studios, and we recorded it. And it was an amazing feeling. That was in about April, and then the event was in June. Mm-hmm. So to see myself on because they had different tents and different locations for this event. This is a huge event. There were they expected, I think, like 1,000 people to show up. It was like 3,000 that showed up. It was huge. Nice. And so everywhere that we went, and we were driving around to the different locations, you would see a big jumbo screen of me talking about this token. That felt amazing. And I had big ups to PBS producer Melody McKinley. She was there, and I remember her saying, "You just wrote your own ticket."
Yeah. And
I was like, "What does that mean?" I remember like, "What the hell does that mean?" She was like, "You have basically made it so that you're valid. Everything that you say from now on is valid." And so I don't know how it felt. I'm gonna be honest, because it was mainstream, right? But I also wanted to make sure that I still had that connection. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go too far mainstream. So I remember being jaded in that moment. Like, what do you mean I wrote my own ticket? Like, what about the people? So that was that was how I felt. That's the only way I can describe it, is kind of being jaded, happy, very happy, but wanting to make sure that I brought others with me.
Yo, that's number one. Congratulations, man, on all of that. That's powerful, because it reminds me in 2012, I was only home from prison for 5 years. I had only changed my life at that point for like 3.5. I changed my life at the end of 2008. And just 3.5 years later, I just did a whole bunch of work. And I got my first honor from the city government, New York City proclamation for Black History Month by the councilman Dan Brammer, who was the majority leader at the time in my hood. And I remember getting a proclamation. I invited a bunch of people. I had I think the majority of the crowd was there for me, because when I got off stage, most people left and everybody else was mad at me that I took the crowd with me. I'm like, exactly. But I wasn't, my friends were still being killed. My friends were still killing each other, right? Friends were still killing friends at that point. So I remember getting a proclamation, being grateful, but also similar to you, being jaded, but like, yo, my friends are still killing people. And there was a brother who mentioned something to me that put it in perspective and that reshaped my thinking around recognition like that. He said, "How many people do you know with the proclamation?" I was like, "Whoa, nobody, right? Only government officials, maybe big time national activists, right? You know, Dr. King, people like that get proclamations, get top city honors. And he said, you know, and him saying that, it made me realize that there are people who look at me, who look at those who trust me, right? Because sometimes when you're standing in front of the light, you could be blinded, right? So you don't fully understand what's happening when you know a person intimately. But if someone outside of you can recognize them, say, "Whoa, this person is great," it can get you to look at them differently, right? And maybe be more inclined to follow their words, their wisdoms, and their teachings.
Absolutely.
So, how do you view accolades and things like that? Like, do you view it as, do you still view it as being jaded, or do you view it as, okay, this is something I can use to inspire my people?
That's now. And I want to. It's funny that you say that because you were a big part of it. Where I got this paralysis about me, where I was like, I don't really want to, you know, do too much and get too much acknowledgement, whatever. I don't want people to be hating or whatever. And I remember you being like, bro, keep going. You know, F them, basically. You know what I mean? Keep going. If you're doing it for them and that genuineness is still there, what does it matter? You know, so you were big ups to you. You were a big, you were huge in my corner, man. You were a big influence on me, and seeing you and like knowing your story and all the stuff that you've gone through and the stuff that you continue to fight through and still elevate yourself and still have time and hold places for people. That's what I always tell you, like, your motivation, because it doesn't matter what you have proven. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. I'm still going to hold space for the people who mean the most to me. And so that's how I view it now. All right, well, cool. This is what you've given me. What can you do for my mans? You know what I mean? You got an opportunity for me? Well, my mans need an opportunity too.
Yep.
You know, and it's like when you watch those old movies about like the Temptations and the Five Heartbeats, and they would be like, you don't get me without bringing the band.
Yep.
So that's how I look at it now.
Yeah, that's powerful. You know, that's so great. It makes me think of an old I think Snoop Dogg song. It ain't no fun if the homies can't get none.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So we just got to use that, take that mindset and apply it to our opportunities.
Yep.
Right. What is it? You know, if you could briefly, you know, we don't want to give it too much attention, but what is it about people that inhibits that from, you know, they get opportunities and it's all about them? There are people in our community who have great knowledge, who have overcome a lot, but then who charge a lot for the information to people who really can't afford it. And it's like, whoa, if you really love your people, like that makes me ask the question, what does love for your people really mean? So can you go into briefly? I don't want to, you know.
Brief. I'll say this. When you're at a so-called low level, perspective-wise, you see yourself at a low level and you get a little higher than that level and everybody's looking up at you, you don't want to lose that status. And so whether it's with, you know, everything that men do, I don't care what they say, it's for women.
100%.
For women. So the money is very important to that. To have all the money and to make sure that others don't is very important. And it's just a miniature, it's a form of Stockholm syndrome. It's a miniature version of us doing the same thing that has been done to us. That's all I'm gonna say to that.
100%. That's perfect. Going back to a few moments ago, talking about attention, right? Talking about, you know, not wanting the acknowledgement. One thing I learned young, and I think this was my first idea of currency, was attention, right? Like attention is currency. Because if I get the attention, then I can dictate the moves. If I get the right attention for the right reasons, then I can dictate so much about what happens in my community and society. And so, again, just gonna, you know, re-encourage you again. Keep going. Know that you are a shining light, you know, in our world. So let's talk real quick about things you have coming up. What do you have coming up? Wait, even before that, hold on, because another thing you did that I'm excited about, you know, last year, NFT NYC. Right? Can you talk a little bit about that? And again, mentioning the Web Renaissance and how most people who you met around the world who running things are from New York, New Jersey. How important was that for you to be a part of?
Well, NFT NYC, big ups to you and your family who introduced me to Meta World Peace, and he took me everywhere with him for NFT NYC last year, and he gave me the game, and he put me on, you know, he put me on his team. And it was very powerful. He took me to the Queens. He took me to Queensbridge. I was already in Queensbridge, but he took me to the middle of Queensbridge, to the basketball courts, and like showed me all of the things that could be, can be improved here, and through technology, through technology. And so NFT NYC was great because I kept coming back. I didn't get a nice hotel or anything like that. I stayed with family. I stayed with family. I stayed with Grandma Kim. I stayed, and and Grandma. Everybody know Grandma Kim. And when you say that attention is currency, she could walk into that Key Foods and get get a bag of groceries and walk out, and they're gonna give it to her. And so what I learned was, and there's actually this is to go off topic, but I'm gonna bring it back. It's funny that you say that attention is a currency because there is actually a technology in social tokens called proof of attention protocol. Proof of attention protocol is called a POAP. And what it does is, as long as you're giving this application attention, as long as you're using it, as long as you're sharing it, as long as you're operating on it, you get paid for it. So if you as an influencer, that's why I've been, like, get into NFTs, get into crypto, because all of the people who support you and not follow, I know you don't like the term followers, but the people who support you and gather around you can be getting paid for doing so, and you don't have to pay them, out of your pocket.
Powerful.
And so being in going to NFT NYC and coming back from the hood to this big event, I could immediately see, and especially sitting with Meta World Peace, I could immediately see how they were implementing our culture and our trends and they were making money off of it. Proof of attention protocol, right? Mm-hmm. And so I ran with it. I ran back with it. So that was the biggest thing that was compelling for me. Seeing that juxtaposition between the hood, the so-called hood, right, and corporate America, and them taking things this way with tech.
Crazy. So now moving forward, what do you have coming up that you're excited about? What's going on with you present day? What do you have in the next few weeks, few months that we can all tap into as well?
So I will be at the Blackest Tech event in Atlanta. I will be speaking there it's going to be from August 7th to 11th in Atlanta, Georgia. Blackest Tech. I will be there.
The dates again?
August 7th through the 11th. Yep.
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. And that's going to be really cool. I will be rolling out we will be launching pre-launching our school. It is a emerging technology school certification program for those who would like to get into these technologies, right? And they feel like, maybe they're not the most adept, or they don't really understand the complex information. So we're going to be able to break it down to them, no matter their level of education, or no matter how smart they think they are, or how techy they think they are. We'll be able to not only break it down to them, but certify them. And we'll be rolling that out officially next year, but we're going to start taking the pre-enrollments this year in November. We don't have an exact date right now because some stuff's going on behind the scene, but we will be rolling out that school. It is called the Innovation League. I'm very excited about the Stop Squad. We have a boys mentorship group for boys from the ages of 9 to 21 that teaches them everything about blockchain, about gaming, getting paid to game. There are blockchain games that pay you to play them. Teaches them about market analysis, teaches them, all types of things. So I'm very big shout out to Kayvon, Tony, and Anganza Matthew, our senior squad leaders for the Stop Squad. And Stop Squad stands for Stars in Training, Obtaining Power. I'm just excited for the Web Renaissance movement and you bringing that into different neighborhoods and, the others. Big shout out to Kev Horton of Nomad Group. Big shout out to Pigeons of New York. Big shout out to all these major projects that are using this tech to empower their people. So I'm excited about those things, man.
Nice. Can we expect another book anytime in the near future?
Yeah, you're reading my mind, man. Yes, I am coming out with another book at the end of the year called Smart Cities and the Social Tokens That Power Them. Yeah. Let's do it, man.
Incredible. Real quick, because I've heard the term. I think I understand it fully. I think there are many who may not understand it. What is a smart city? If you can, and
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you understand the term. If you've seen like iRobot and what's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, and Fifth Element, and all of that. Smart cities are basically completely technology ran cities. They're ran by AI, and on the blockchain, everything is recorded. Everything is, put together on the blockchain. And so you got the electric cars. You have the electric stations that run everything, the robotics, all that. That's what the world is coming to. I'm going to keep it a buck. And a lot of people will be put out of jobs. But, right, if you know that the game is changing, it's time for you to change the game.
Change the game. If you know that the game is changing, that's a quote. Let's quote that. If you know. So just showing people how I'm going to use that to show people how to change the game and how they can leverage this new paradigm shift, because whenever there's a shift, there's an opportunity. And that pivot is where you make your pivot and you get that opportunity. So that's what the book will be teaching people, how to leverage these changes, how to place themselves in a position of authority when these new cities are created. And it doesn't matter. You could have a high school diploma. You could have a GED and still get paid off of this new shift. No, that's incredible, and it's just, for me, it's just sad that so many people are stuck in their ways and don't want to open up to the shift. And so they'll complain and beg and plead and cry for the old way, which they've been complaining about anyway. They've been complaining about for centuries about the work not getting paid enough, the bosses being unfair, the work, the lack of, labor laws, the lack of, all the discrimination. They complain about all of that as long as I've been alive. And now as a shift opportunity for people to become owners, for families to become owners in a different way, really using your minds, no longer having to use your body and your heart and your hands and having bleeding knuckles and all of that, doing this hard labor for pennies. You can now sit back and really think and make millions now with smart investments and things like that, man. It just hurts that so many people, man, just stuck.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a great point, man. And, big ups, and you always say, I'm not doing this for the money, but you already know you're a billionaire, 100%. In social currency, you're a billionaire.
And you know what helped me realize that? What shifted my mind to really get me excited, because, we grow up in the hood and we strive. We're like, yo, I want this amount of money. I want this amount of money to be good. What helped me realize that even if I don't have the cash, right, the physical actual money, my value, and it's like what they call it when they do your like how much this person is worth based on evaluation.
Net worth.
Which is based on your evaluation. So it's like based on my evaluation, when I thought about that, it was like, whoa. The things I've already done and created, the things that's in my head, that's in my books, the things that I'm going to create, we're already worth 100 billion.
And that's huge, because I remember those moments where you would say you would want something or you're going to do something, and then it would be like a few months later and you would be doing it or you would have it. And so it's not just your valuation as far as people, it's your valuation as far as your mindset, your mentality. You will meditate on something for months until you get it. Yes, and we don't have that propensity to like just follow through with things. We want it instantly. We want the microwave. What we say, the microwave society. We want it instantly. And so just knowing that, with again, and applying it to this tech, man, with the ideas and concepts and understanding that we have, there is no reason why we shouldn't be running things. Because those ancient texts that you also read say that the original people, right? This is not a race thing. This is just the original people. And everybody says we're the original people, right? It's not that the original people will be back in positions of authority and running things by the time this is all said and done. So all I'm striving to do is just get people in a position.
That's it. That's all we got to do is restore order. Yeah. Right. Man, so it's been incredible, brother. Do you have some last words for us? Some last words of encouragement, last words of advice, any instruction and direction for the viewers? Give us a few words, man, to close out.
The only thing I'm gonna say is trust yourself, right? You have been a creator. I don't care what you do, right? I don't care what you do. Big ups to Cuzzo, Tay Fuller, Saquon Fuller, who I told, bro, he was like, I don't know nothing about that crypto stuff. And I was like, bro, he's a great basketball player. I'm talking about a great basketball player. And I told him, bro, that is a talent that you can record, put out there and make money off of it. So what I'm saying to you is no matter what you are good at, what you do, what you create, what you like, even if you just like anime or something like that, and you feel like you're not talented, there is a place for you in this global movement. This movement is global for a reason. And so I want you to search in yourself, figure out what your talents are, write down all the things that you love and that you're good at. And they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Right? Write down all the things that you're good at, and then look for ways. You guys can hit me up. I'll leave my information here. PlanetKrypton.io with a K. PlanetKrypton.io. You can contact me there. Founder at PlanetKrypton.io. But if you have a talent or something that you would like to leverage, that you like, man, figure it out, research it, and let's get together. Let's talk about how you can make money off of it in this new paradigm shift.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Yo, Link, as always, man, thank you for your time. Thank you for doing all of the work, all of the research, all of the hard leg work to have this information, in your vessel, in you as a vessel, to be able to share it at will, so freely, in a way that makes sense to just about everyone, man. Appreciate you. Keep going.
Absolutely.
Yo, your boy LaShawn Sugar Ray Marston wrapping up another phenomenal interview on the Sugar Ray Show. It's been a pleasure. It's been incredible. It's been an honor. As you heard here, man, you can be an owner. Do not be afraid of yourself. Do not be afraid of the technology that comes from you. Open your mind, expand your horizons. Know that the shift is happening, whether you like it or not. So it's just that you still get it, you still have time to get ahead of it. We're still pretty early in the shift, man, but things are changing fast. So don't procrastinate. Don't wait. Get on your job. Do what you need to do to protect yourself, your family, your community, so that you can truly build wealth for generations to come, man. As always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We all we got, but we all we need. Peace and love.